Alrighty, well, here I am, getting ready to figure out how to make up an adapter out of some plywood and some scrap wood I have in the garage, so I can get my bike here up on the lift and be able to finally change brake pads out and clean everything out inside. The master cylinders for the clutch and the brake, I flushed all the fluid out. That's all new. The old stuff looked like pancake syrup. It was pretty brown. It should be clear, or not completely clear, but kind of like a, I don't know, light, really light golden color, lighter than the color of oil, like your engine oil. So, anywho, let's look under the bike, see what I got to measure out. Okay. So, I don't know how well it shows up. And the neighbor's turning the carburetor on his old car. Just revving the crap out of it. Anyhow, so you can see that the lift is wider. So what I'm going to do here, my trusty tape measure, is I think I'm going to cut a piece of plywood that's 16 inches long, and I think I'm gonna make it about a foot wide. It gives me a little bit of overhang. I don't think I'm gonna mess around with trying to fit some kind of blocking up here. I don't think it's gonna be needed. Plus, I don't have a lot of clearance between. I mean, that pipe is, I don't know how well that shows up, but there we go. That pipe is pretty close to that frame rail, and or the frame tube, and anything that I stick on there isn't really going to want to rest on there. So it's not like I would want to have the whole bike's weight resting on that. I think instead, what I do is I'm just going to have the piece of plywood that covers this whole area, and then I'm going to put a filler block in the middle that supports the sump and makes it the same level as the pipes here. So this tab, whatever that thickness is, all the way across here, just a piece of wood that's cut just right to fit that. So when the adapter comes up, the pipes, the exhaust pipes, and the blocking take up all of this space and distribute the load, and that should be fine. It's going to be way better than it ever saw at any Honda dealership in its entire life, I guarantee that. And well, let's get cracking. Alrighty. Well, you can see the straight edge laid across here. Those tabs are pretty close to touching. They're not all in center with each other. I think my plan's going to work. It's going to be good enough. Let me measure this all out, and then I'm going to run off to the hardware store and get stuff, materials, get this going. Well, I'm back home, and this is what I come up with. Of course, it's listed as 3/4 inch plywood, not even close. And then, as we can see, I've got this piece of plywood here, which is 1 foot by 16 inches in length. I'm going to screw and adhere with some construction adhesive this to that. And this is shaped the way it is because I slot it up in here. You can see that is going to fit on the underside of the sump here, or the oil pan, in between all these little tabs, and then this gets screwed down to that plywood. And the construction adhesive is probably going to be overkill. I did notice one thing though, because of the way the bike leans in its side stand. As I scoot the jack underneath, I'm going to have to stand the bike up slightly, but it shouldn't be a problem. Alrighty, so let's get this put together. Then I can finally hoist up the bike. Alright, so I'm gonna have to, I kind of pushed this up underneath the bike there and figured out where I needed it, and that's right about on the money. I need to cut some excess off the edge of that because there's a little bit too much plywood, but that was a rough measurement. This is bang on though. This is right where it needs to go. So let's get this trimmed up and assembled and see what happens. Alright, it is done, and this right way around. That's all screwed and adhered together there, and then I got two cleats down here, which should theoretically keep it centered on the bike lift here. I don't want to scooch around too much. Then get under here. Now I already know the trick to this is going to be standing the bike up slightly as I put the lift under it. First try. All right. And this bike lift has little safety tabs holding it in place, but my adapter has worked like a charm. That guy is right up in there. It's fully supported by the exhaust tubes and the sump, and it's extremely stable. The whole bike's off the ground and it's balanced. What more could I ask for? I wish that this lift had a tab that was one notch lower on the safety there. Creaky noises that the shaft drive makes. Anyhow, hopefully, because I don't think I got time to mess with it today. I gotta look at the clock. But got to get this drum. Well, I got the wheel off, but free play's pretty good in the drum. And if you look at the wear indicator, you know, from here to here is supposed to indicate a worn drum, or I'm sorry, the shoes. Well, technically the drum too, right? But those are the original pads. I bet money on it, because when I put the new tire on a couple years ago, I think I was the only one who's ever had this this wheel off the bike. Over here on the old front, you can see that there's still good material on the pads, but they're crap pads. I have no idea who made them. They may be OEM, but we're gonna put EBC carbons on there, and hopefully that'll give me some more resistance. Well, not resistance, it's not what I meant to say. Better braking power. So, there it is. All lifted up. So if you ever wanted to know how to lift up an 87 or an 88 Honda Magna, that's how you got to do it. You got to make a little sled out of plywood or whatever you got laying around to adapt it to your jack, because the bike lift's too wide. But now it's got a good distributional load and it's pretty balanced. But I'm pretty sure, you know, no, lifting up on the bike in the back, it seems pretty balanced. Well, that was a couple of hours I didn't plan on investing into this whole process. Okay, well, let me get the parts and see if I want to tackle this today, or we'll have to do it another day. And here are my parts. These, doesn't really say it on the box or on the container, but according to my order sheet, these are supposed to be a carbon composite brake pad material. And look at that collective, guys. Made in the UK. That is so awesome. Made in UK, made in USA, anything but made in China. I have had so many rotten parts from China. And it's not that the Chinese people aren't capable of making good quality stuff. It's just, you know, when the requirement from whatever company that puts in the order to the factory is, hey, make these as cheap as possible, well, you get what you pay for, right? Now these are the shoes for the back, and they are semi-metallic material. They are not the organic, and I'm not sure what quote-unquote organic means. Ground up spotted owls or baby seals, who knows. Anyhow, so unfortunately these dudes gotta wait another day, because there ain't enough time today, I think, to get this done. Because I gotta get my bucket with soapy water, get the tools out, I gotta get the torque wrench, I gotta get all my stuff sorted out, and then start pulling everything apart. I also got to read in my manual, because while I've had the back wheel off and I vaguely remember what the torque spec is for the nut that retains that, it has been a while and I have not pulled apart a rear drum. Last two bikes I had rear disc, and it was much easier to service because there's a specific setting for the play, whoops, on this adjuster nut. And it's pretty critical because it determines how tight or how spongy this feels. That's my brake rod. Long, horrendous thing there. Honestly, Honda, why on earth did you not put rear disc on a bike with the power that this engine puts out? Or at least dual disc in the front? I will never know. Because it goes real fast and it gets to real fast real quick, but it doesn't stop really well. Well, I didn't get any of the actual brake work itself accomplished, but I now have my my lift adapted to my Magna. I'm going to study up on this so I know exactly what I'm doing when I go to pull the drum apart. I think the front disc is pretty self-explanatory as far as getting the caliper off and getting the pads in there. But I'll still look it up anyhow, just for possible torque specs, that kind of thing. Anyhow, time for a drink. And the best thing that the Swiss have ever made, Swiss Army knife. Well, I'm joking, I have no idea. Anyhow, till my next video, cheers.